Hey guys, good day. Hey, I wanted to revisit the study I did on Babylon, and when you read Jeremiah 15:51, you realize that Jeremiah is speaking about there's some nation called Babylon that you would think maybe is ancient Babylon, the one that the Israelites were taken into exile by. But when you read all the clues in Jeremiah 50:51, you kind of come to the realization that maybe it's not ancient Babylon. We see the same type of reference to Babylon in Revelation 18, which was written by John about 700 years later, and it has the same terminology. So if we look at the Bible in general, we see this reference to, obviously in Revelation 18, that Babylon has fallen, Babylon the Great, and then 14 speaks about it. Jeremiah speaks about Babylon falling. Even in Isaiah, it speaks about Babylon fallen. So does it make sense to think that Jeremiah 15:51, his Babylon, is that the same Babylon that John is speaking about? Or that maybe Isaiah is speaking about? Because we learn in Revelation 18, which is obviously an unfulfilled prophecy, it says that Babylon, for all the nations, are drunk the wine of their passion, of her sexual immorality, and that the Lord's people actually reside in Babylon. It says, "Come out of her, my people, lest you take part of her sins." So let's go back through Jeremiah 15:51 and spend some time looking at the clues. And I've reviewed this before, but I wanted to make it very easy to see. So I put together a matrix here of 10 scriptures that give us descriptive clues about Babylon. And we can go through these rather quickly, and I can show you some information online and some information here that really points to the United States actually answering all these clues. You can see the U.S. clearly does align with every single clue that was given to us in Jeremiah 50 and actually in Revelation 18. And some of these other nations here, ancient Babylon, Russia, I see a lot of people think it's Russia. I didn't even bother putting Mecca up here because Mecca is not necessarily a nation, but it's in Saudi Arabia. Obviously, Saudi Arabia doesn't fit hardly any of these clues. But when you look at Jeremiah 50 verse 12, you see that Jeremiah says that this nation, Babylon, will be the last of the nations. And the last of the nations, ancient Babylon's 2,700 years ago. That obviously is not the last of the nations. There's been many more nations. The nation of Russia, Russia, the land of Russia, began to have a peoples there in around 882 AD, a Slavic nation. That's when it began. The Vatican began in the 4th century. It's not even really a nation, but we know that the United States is the youngest of the nations, really, and it began in 1776, and it definitely does qualify as the last of the nations when ancient Babylon does not. Verse 23 says that Babylon would be the hammer of the whole earth. So ancient Babylon was a military power, but not of the whole earth. Russia is a military power, but it's not the lone superpower. We can talk about its budget here in a second. The Vatican has no military. And of course, the United States is the lone world superpower. The USA's defense budget is $625 billion. Russia is $70 billion. And when you look at just other things about the defense budgets of the worlds for the various different countries, here I go to here in a second, guys. You can see here the United States. This is the list of defense spending and sort of the equipment that they have. Look at the aircraft carriers. There's 23 aircraft carriers. The USA has 11. Everybody else has 1 or 2. Russia has 1. Russia does have a lot of tanks. That's their sort of claim to fame, is the amount of tanks they have. You can see they have 15,000 tanks. They have twice as many tanks as the U.S. And it's been thought, there's been many visions of seeing tanks coming over the horizon from the north. And we'll talk about that in a minute. So let's jump to the next one. Behold, I am against you, O destroying mountain. Another reference to the USA, a reference to a powerful military. And of course, ancient Babylon was not a military of the whole earth. Russia, like I said, does have a powerful military, but not the whole earth. And you look at the USA has 800 foreign military bases. 800. Okay, all over the world. The USA's military is all over the world. Russia has essentially 0 foreign military bases. 1 in Crimea right now, I think, is what I read. Okay, The USA well, let's go here. Verse 31, behold, I am against you, O proud one. And whether ancient Babylon was proud, I guess we don't know. Russia does they do have some pride here. The Vatican's not known for that, but the USA has a strong tradition of flag waving, and especially on our 4th of July, there's many patriotic celebrations. I did come across a blog where some people were talking about this, and somebody from outside of the U.S. said this. It said, in my experience, the U.S. is the most overt in public and private displays of the flag. The stars and stripes are a common sight and often displayed in a very aggressively and intentionally out of place way. Most European nations, this is more of a personal thing. So we all know that the USA carries itself with a serious tradition of flag waving and the proudness of the USA. The land of images is another one that's not even close with anything else here. So there are no images out of ancient Babylon that I know. I've never seen any ancient Babylonian movies, pictures, art, nothing. Russia essentially has none. The Vatican has none. The USA owns the movie industry. When you look at just the movie industry itself, the top grossing movies of all time are all from the USA right here. You can look at the top non-USA grossing movies. The number one is a movie from China, 870 million. If you look at a list of all the movies in the world, top grossing movies, you can see that let me find that movie. You can find here that movie is number number 61. So the 60 movies that are above that movie in grossing in dollars and gross dollars is the USA, and of course Avatar is 2.7 trillion. Looks like that's millions, right? Yeah, 2.7 billion. So it's not even close that the USA owns this whole idea of images. They own the movie and TV industry. So, and this images is made a reference to in 1551 in Jeremiah 4 times. So there was an image in ancient Babylon which was a graven image, but obviously that's not something that people even know about. So for this idea of the land of images, it's not even close that it's the USA. Verse 7, 51. Babylon was a golden cup in the hand of the Lord. So I don't know that ancient Babylon ever walked with the Lord. Russia doesn't have a Christian. Well, they do have an Orthodox Christian heritage, but the USA, we used to walk with the Lord. Now we kill 3,000 babies a day, and we sell their body parts to the highest bidder. And when that came out last year, I thought there'd be a little bit of an upheaval in the Christian church, and I never heard a mention of it once from the pulpit. It was like it was just kept quiet. We didn't talk about it. Okay, another one that's a slam dunk for the USA. O you who dwell by many waters, rich in treasures, your end has come. Let me get rid of this right here. That's the next one. So the USA does dwell by many waters. It's not even close. Ancient Babylon, ancient Babylon, it's landlocked. There's this Persian Gulf that's near, but ancient Babylon doesn't dwell by many waters. The USA, it's got the Pacific Ocean, the Gulf of Mexico, Atlantic Ocean, and the Arctic to the north. So there's 4 different oceans or 4 different waters that are surrounding it. Russia does have the Arctic to the north, but it's mostly ice. So there's a little bit of water around Russia, but nowhere near what the USA is. Okay. Rich in treasures. At the time, ancient Babylon was rich. Russia is a rather poor nation. The Vatican doesn't even come close to the USA. We can look at the Vatican's wealth, and of course the United States is the richest nation on the earth. We hold 40% of the world's net worth, and we can take a look at that here. If we look at, here's a list of wealthiest organizations, and the Catholic Church, the Vatican's about 30 billion. The Mormons are more money than the church, the Catholic Church. If you look at the USA, I go over to here. By GDP, we're obviously much more higher than any other nation on the planet. That's military spending. Here, more total wealth. The whole world's wealth is 280 trillion. We're about a third of that. A little over, so 401 trillion. If you look at Russia, I think Russia's down here. They're just 2 trillion. So the United States' wealth is about 50 times what that of Russia is. And you can see that the USA just dwarfs all the other nations, even China. The USA is 3 times the wealth of China, almost 10 times the wealth of Germany, France, Italy. It's not even close. So the USA is clearly the richest nation on the planet. Verse 41, the praise of the whole earth. Ancient Babylon was never considered the praise of the earth. Russia, no. The Vatican, no. So if you want to live the American dream, where do you go? You come to the United States. Okay, that's what the American dream is. That is the praise of the whole earth. And then if you go to Revelation 18, you see this reference to it. Says, when Babylon is taken, Babylon is fallen, it says, and the merchants of the earth weep and mourn for her, since no one buys their cargo anymore. Obviously, there was not merchants surrounding ancient Babylon 2,700 years ago. Russia only has 2 seaports. The United States has a myriad of seaports. If I show you the myriad of seaports, Russia just essentially has 2, essentially. So the USA's GDP and its economic outreach is far greater than anything on the planet. China's catching up to it. So what does all this mean? That when you look at these clues in total, you see that the USA answers yes to every single one of these. There's no other nation on the planet that even comes close to this. So what does this mean then? If we go back to Jeremiah, we can see what it says. It says, for out of the north a nation shall come against her, Babylon, which shall make her land a desolation, and none shall dwell in it, both man and beast. Because of the wrath of the Lord, she shall not be inhabited, but she shall be an utter desolation. Everyone who passes by Babylon shall be appalled and hiss at her wounds. The sea has come upon Babylon, and she is covered with tumultuous waves. So just looking at that verse alone, you can see the sea on both sides of the U.S., even in the Gulf of Mexico. You just don't see that with ancient Babylon. I don't know how you even go there with that, guys. And if you go to Revelation 18, you can read more about what's going to happen to Babylon. You can see that in 1 hour. Let me just search here. I think it says hour. Yeah. For in a single hour your judgment has come. So this is going to be quick when it happens. Literally a single hour. And you can always go to Isaiah 21 to read about Babylon falling. We talked about Jeremiah and, of course, Revelation. Even Revelation 14 speaks about it. So, guys, I don't know how you can get any more clear than this, that the USA is the modern representation of Babylon. And when Jeremiah wrote his 2 chapters, he was looking forward to a future, this future nation, this golden cup in the hand of the Lord. To me, that just hits hard. These killing these babies, and we started killing these babies in 1973. We're up to about 65 million now, and then selling the body parts. That has just turned me off to this country, and really to a lot of the church-going Christians who just remain ignorant to these types of things. And to think that this nation would never be judged by God, it's just I think we just need to take our glasses off, guys, with this whole American patriotism thing, and look just where the USA stands, because we know it says in the Word that that judgment will begin in the house of the Lord. So, with that, guys, I'm leaving you with a sobering message, and take it to the Lord, to the Holy Spirit, and let Him reveal this to you. So, with that, guys, have a great day, and God bless you.